Now it's time for Whispers, your number one source for all things paranormal, with your hosts Jordan Klein and Nick Queen, and produced by the lovely Lola Miller. Whispers is brought to you by West Virginia Penitentiary Tours at the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville. Unforgettable, historical, educational.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Whispers Radio on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. It is 6:08 p.m. I don't know, it's like in the 50s today, wasn't it, Nick?
Yeah, seems like it has been.
It's been pretty good. I'm loving it.
Well, you made fun of me because when I got up and I was ready to leave, we went over to Belmont Tech so I could sign up for some Cisco networking classes.
So that Nick, who just finally graduated, can go back to school. But
it's hard out there, people. Ask him where he's been.
Listen, this is so funny. This is so funny. Nick walks out the house. It's like 50 degrees out today or more. And
my computer said 31.
Nick's got this huge winter coat on, these big thick gloves, a little toboggan. He like walks out, and I'm like, man, it's cold out, isn't it, Nick?
I'm like, man, it's warm.
He's like, this is a bad choice.
But I've got a cold anyway, so I won't be doing too much input on the show today. But because you can tell I've been coughing like crazy, so I didn't want to get any sicker. So
we don't want you to get sicker either.
I don't. It's horrible.
Well, I'm Jordan Klein. He's Nick Queen, and she is the lovely Lola Miller. And I am back. I've been away for a couple weeks. I was in mining school at Training Plus there in Powhatan Point with Jed Lyson. Go there if you got any ambition to get down in the mines. Go talk to Jed at Training Plus. Also, he sells hats and belts, too, so that's a good plus. I got all my equipment. It was fun stuff. I'm hoping to get a job now. Fingers crossed.
Going underground?
Going underground.
Are you going to be okay?
I don't know. I guess they were like, what kind of miner are you going to be? I was like, well, I come from a long line of coal mine owners, so I guess better be a good one. They're like, well, you going to be able to handle it? It's like, oh, I guess I don't know until I get down there.
You'd always said you weren't going to do it.
Yeah, I know. I always promised myself I wouldn't do it.
But
and here I am doing it.
Somebody said that Jerry E. Smith died. That's the guy from Weather Warfare that I was talking back and forth with, and he told me he had pancreatic cancer. I'm hoping that's not the case, but.
Oh, is that the guy that we were going to have on the show, and he was like, oh, well, I'm sick right now, but I'll come back?
Yeah, that's sad.
Wow, I guess he's not going to be coming on the show then. So if anybody else who doesn't have pancreatic cancer wants to be on the show, come on out. Give us a call, 304-214-1600. If you're out of the area, 1-866-514-1600. I didn't mean that. Come on. I got the most evil look from Nick. Whatever.
I just took my...
It's not even like guaranteed he's dead yet. So let's wait until we find out for sure, because I'd hate to be in mourning for like a guy who's like, what are you talking about? I'm on your show next week. All right, I'm getting another evil look. Whatevs. It happens. So what's going on, Nikki?
Not much. Do you want to tell everybody about the prison or the prison trip? We put up the link soon for that, but... All
right, the price for the prison trip, for all of you who have been wanting to know, is $65. Correct, Nick?
65, yep.
$65. That's going to include Dwayne Claude is coming from New York. He is the demonologist we have on all the time, and he's going to be giving a presentation of demonology, I guess. Grandview Park is helping us get him out there. So Grandview Park up in Moundsville, thank you very much. Give your support to them. They're doing a great thing by helping us. I mean, we really appreciate it. DeCarlo's Pizza in the Grove is going to be hooking us up with some pizza. Hopefully for those of you who came last year and we had like 1 million boxes of pizza, we're not going to have that many. You know, hey Lola, are you going to be able to come with us?
I've already told everybody, yes. I'm planning on going. I think my sister's going too.
Really? You're going to be able to drag her after watching the...
Well, I don't know. She said she's going to go.
Ghost Adventures or something that you watch all the time?
You know what? I'll tell you. I watched Paranormal State. Can't watch it. I can't watch it anymore.
Why?
It is so contrived.
Contrived? Dumb that up so I understand it. I don't know what that word means.
They never get anything. And I understand all of that. But it is so theatrical.
Yeah.
Director's log. And I can't watch it. I can't watch it. And the one I watched the other day was, a doctor. It was his house. It was here in West Virginia. His house, and he had killed himself in it, and the wife was seeing some dark shadow figure, kind of like a shadow person, and it kept going into the room that her husband had slept in all the time, and I don't know.
Uh-huh.
So they bring the psychic lady in, and she's kind of, saying, "Oh, I feel," and then they bring a priest in. That's
an old priest and a young priest.
It was just so contrived. I can't watch it anymore. I won't watch it anymore. I don't believe. But I think
even if it was real, it seems like they're trying to make it as theatrical as possible.
Well, yeah, and they never seem to. And I realize that you
accomplish
can't
anything by the end of the show.
Yeah.
Well, that's like the one they did at the Pen. One of our listeners, she calls in all the time, Barb. She's like, all that's made up. Trust me, I live right there. I know that place inside and out. That's made up. That's made up.
Yeah.
And she had a big stink. I did just mention Grandview Park, but apparently I didn't mention it good enough because Mr. Mike Drzako would like to double plug.
I came sprinting. I heard the
walking in
the
with
sign.
the Grandview Park tag on, just in case.
See, I'm like a security for them.
He came in uniform too, just to be like,
Right.
hey, Grandview Park.
So what did we say wrong this time? Other than what Jordan just said, heartless as he is.
Oh, I did. I heard that. It's terrible.
Don't you agree with me? I mean, wasn't that the worst?
My jaw dropped in the car.
I don't know. I've heard
How
worse
dare
things
you.
have been said on this show.
Not true.
So what's up, Mike?
Not that I came in here. I saw this blinding light, and I realized it's Nick's computer. It's amazing. That's awesome.
It is. It is a piece of art.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, and I want to thank you while you're here for helping us out with
no problem.
our demonologist we're flying in.
Yeah, no problem. Are you gonna land him up at Grandview too? We're just
Got
gonna.
room?
We have plenty. We have plenty of room. 650 acres. We can land somebody on. So when is it?
If I have a way to land that
Yeah.
on there, I definitely would.
That'd be awesome.
With like fireworks and sprinkler systems and
All right.
Big sign.
What's the date again?
June 30th.
June 3rd. Okay, sweet. And $65. Steal.
You coming?
It is a steal.
Yeah, I will
It's
be
a
there.
Huge steal.
I will be there.
Most I think the Pen usually charges $60 for their all-nighters, but we got an exclusive coming.
Well,
so,
65, so it's a snuggle time.
Yeah,
$5 extra for snuggle time.
it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to be with Nick.
Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
not bringing my computer though.
who doesn't want to snuggle with Nick?
all right.
Or I
big
mean,
bear
Lola
of a
will
guy.
be there too. I guess somebody's saying that Lola's good to snuggle with. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Beauregard out there is waiting.
You can take her snuggie. Compatible with all kinds of ghosts.
So how's everything been up at the Grandview?
It's great. We met with some fireworks, Pursuity Fireworks today. We're planning some great things this summer for concerts, and got a lot of stuff lined up down there.
You got any dates yet?
I do. First date is May 29th. I'm not going to announce bands or musicians or things like that yet. It's still in progress, but we're gonna announce that stuff probably in the next 2 weeks. But the first date is May 29th. That is the grand opening of our pool.
May 29th?
Yes. We have spent a few $million on a pool up there, and
That one up on the hill.
yeah, so
Thing is
we've
awesome.
cut back my salary and put it towards the pool, and
Somebody
to
has
get
to
it done.
sacrifice.
Exactly, I'm taking one for the team. So I figured I can bathe in it too, so it works out.
There you go.
That's what I used to do on the island pool.
Right.
So
Oh,
So
I'm
don't
glad
go
you
on
warned me
Wednesdays.
about that.
right.
Wednesdays is that date.
Yeah. So May 29th is going to be great, and fireworks and concerts. We have 4 dates planned. The 29th of May, June, I think it's 19th. Yeah, June 19th. It's West Virginia Day. July 2nd or 3rd. We're still back and forth, and August 7th. Those are our dates right now. But we're probably going to have about 8 concerts up there this summer.
Awesome.
So just trying to do new and exciting things and and bring a different kind of entertainment, to Marshall County that hasn't been down there before. I see TNA's coming down there.
Really?
The wrestling thing, and I think it's this weekend.
Yeah.
And that's an exciting thing to have down there, and just trying different stuff. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and we've got a lot of things planned for this summer.
Putting Marshall County back on the map.
There's a lot of people working on it, and it's a great thing to be a part of. So
we appreciate it a lot, man.
Mm-hmm. Do what I can.
I'm an amazing
glad I
person,
missed most of this conversation beforehand. Are you going with us?
Oh, absolutely.
We mocked Jordan too. You missed that.
They were making fun of me, Lola. Where were you?
I was busy.
Yeah.
I was doing my job.
Yeah. Answer phones and stuff. It's awesome.
Jeez, Jordan.
Yeah, whatever.
Jerk.
That's how she rolls. Yeah, it's June 30th, right? Yep.
Yeah.
I told him you're going to bring your Snuggie for you and a ghost.
Yes.
So people might want to go to snuggle with Nick, but who wants to go snuggle with Lola? Beauregard does. So.
Yeah, well, we'll see. He may end up staying on the mound permanently. We have our guest is on the phone as we speak.
All right, Nikki, you want to introduce the guest?
Yeah, I can do that. Okay. Lynne Kitei is an internationally acclaimed physician and health educator who recently pushed aside her successful medical career to pursue the Phoenix Lights book and award-winning documentary project. Key witness to the event, and she's coming out now with a revised and expanded edition of both the book and the DVD. Lynne, are you with us?
With you all the way. Thank you so much for having me and
Thank
letting people know of our exciting happenings.
Oh, thank you for coming back on the show. It's been like a year or so, right?
Yeah.
Do you even remember being on before?
Yeah, I do remember. Absolutely. You guys are great.
Well, thank you. You're not so bad yourself.
This conversation's just... Come on, gang. We gotta step it up a notch.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great visit last time, and I look forward to this visit as well.
Now, tell us about the Phoenix Lights. For those of you, or those people out there that have no clue what we're talking about, what are the Phoenix Lights?
Actually, on March 13th, 1997, when thousands of people were looking up at the sky at the Hale-Bopp comet, they also caught a glimpse of, throughout the state, a mile to 2 mile wide formation of lights that seemed to be attached to something or actually saw a craft. They couldn't quite see what it was attached to, and some people saw a craft traverse right over their heads, very low altitude, about 30 miles an hour, and incredible experience for people, totally silent. And some people did see it take off at a tremendous speed from like 30 miles an hour, and other people actually saw these orbs detach from the main craft, go out into the environment, and then redock with it. So it was really incredible technology, and it's become historic in the annals not only of ufology but also in the annals of history, because there was so much happening throughout the state for many hours, and people were really affected by it. It was an amazing sighting, and I had actually started seeing these orbs 2 years before, and it was an amazing experience. And anybody that wants to get onto the website, which is www.thephoenixlights.net, they can take a peek at a lot of information that we've compiled through the year, Phoenix Lights Network. But certainly the photo page is pretty dramatic, unique collection of photographs of these global unexplained phenomena that I happened to capture prior to, during, and after the mass sighting. But I had no interest or knowledge in this topic at all when this all first started in 1995, two years before the mass sighting. Both my husband, who's also a physician, and I had a very close sighting to our home. The pictures are up there on the website. If
now
anybody
this was
peek.
before the Phoenix Lights phenomena. You were seeing the orbs, right?
Yes, we were seeing these amber orbs in a triangle formation, actually a pyramid formation. This is very close. We live mountainside in Paradise Valley. We have a panoramic view of the city skyline, and we know what planes look like, and helicopters and streetlights and so forth. This is very different, and this was close. This was a little below us, actually, over a private residence, the desert residence area. It's a gated area, and so there's no way that this could have been military. But we were seeing 3 amber orbs in a pyramid formation, one on top of You okay?
Yeah,
Sorry,
our
I'm
little
dying
Nicky's been sick.
Nick's crossing over right now. Well, bear with
Some
him.
hot tea and lemon. Okay.
here.
Anyway, these oars were hovering about 50, 75 feet off the ground, and I have to say, just to share that my life's passion for the last 35 years has been community education. That's why this is so ironic, because I have been producing video and workbook curriculums on the reality of vital health issues like AIDS and teen pregnancy and substance abuse prevention education for over 30 years. And when this fell into my lap, I have to tell you that I knew nothing about this topic at all. I mean, no interest, no knowledge, and I had to educate myself and actually look for a logical explanation once a mass sighting happened, which we'll talk about. But at this point, having produced video and workbook curriculums, I wanted to run downstairs and get my video camera, but it would last. So I tried to take everything in mentally. And when I say a mental picture, this was so extraordinary. I mean, these things were 3 to 6 feet each, depending on how close or far they were. There were the 3 distinct objects. They were oval shaped on their side, and I called them an orb because the light did not extend outside the edge. The light was self-contained and a uniform amber color throughout. And it didn't glare at all. Every light out there glared. I noticed immediately these did not glare, and I thought, if I don't get a picture of this, no one is going to believe it. So I ran to the closet, grabbed my 35 millimeter, and ran back. As my husband saying, quick, get over here, one of them is disappearing. And we watched the top orb. As it disappeared, it faded from view in place. It didn't budge at all. I have to say, the only movies that we had seen previously, and my husband wasn't interested in this topic at all, were E.T., Close Encounters, and we have 2 sons, and we grew up on Star Trek, the beautiful messages on the original Star Trek.
There we go.
You know the Romulan cloaking device? Remember that? It kind of wavered. Well, as I'm looking at this thing fading very slowly, I was so looking for that type of effect, but it wasn't there. It just faded from view, but it seemed like it was cloaking. It just seemed like once it disappeared, it was still there. It was just extraordinary. And I stepped out onto the balcony, got a quick picture of the 2 lower orbs, and immediately noticed an eerie silence, as if time had stopped.
Now, were they making any noise at all?
No noise. No noise at all. And in fact, at that point, it seemed like time had stopped. I mean, it was just an eerie silence. It was bizarre. You couldn't hear anything. You couldn't hear cars on the road down the road. You couldn't hear dogs.
They were all probably
nothing.
watching. They got out of their cars to look at it.
No, actually, nobody else saw it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we're tucked away in the mountain range.
Oh, okay.
So,
How fast were they going?
They were hovering.
Oh, okay.
They were hovering, but you can see in the pictures, if you look on the website, they did move slightly. But anyway, as I'm watching these 2 lower orbs, I have to share with you, and I did not share this with anyone till after the mass sighting 2 years later, that it felt like there was an intelligent presence watching me as intently as I was watching these orbs. And going through my mind was, who are you? What are you? Do you know that I'm here? I'd love to meet you. And the next thing I remember, the left bottom orb started to disappear, and I quickly shot a picture of that. And that was the only one that turned out at the time. But for me, it was confirmatory that we had seen something unusual. I happened to get a picture of one of them half disappeared and one still there. It was in action. And I didn't even know who to show it to. I knew no one who was into the topic, and I didn't even search it out, but wondered for 2 years what this advanced technology would be doing in a private gated community. Never saw another thing similar until 2 months before the mass sighting.
How long was the time frame between when you saw this to when the mass sighting was? How long were you?
2 years later. 2 years later.
2 years.
January, but in January of '97, I saw a formation of lights in a distance. And again, if you look on the photo page on the Phoenix Lights Network, you'll see I caught this phenomena, this mile-wide, extraordinary phenomena of lights that seemed to be attached to something head-on, turning into a V shape. In fact, the second picture was described, the phenomena was described by thousands of people statewide on March 13th, 2 months later, as 5 lights in a V formation with 2 trailing. Many people would describe that, and that's what that picture shows, and this is 2 months before the mass sighting. At any rate, it was so unnerving that this gigantic thing now appeared 2 years after I had seen the close sighting and didn't have any explanation for that. I didn't know what this advanced technology was. It just seemed unearthly. That I called around the next morning, and I found air traffic controllers at Sky Harbor International Airport. Figured there must be a logical explanation, and when I finally reached them, they were just as excited because they saw the same thing at the same time, and it happened to be in Class B airspace. There's a 30-mile radius around the center of the airport where planes must call in. Any kind of air traffic must call into the tower to report their presence. Nobody did. And they looked on radar, could not find anything on radar. And so they picked up their binoculars to look. And in their own words, they described 6 points of light, equidistant from each other, massive span, over a mile wide.
Wow.
That seemed to turn. And if you look at my pictures, you can see that I caught this thing head on turning. So we were seeing it at the same exact time. And then it slowly glided over South Mountain, which is south of the airport. So I said, well, what was it? And they said, beats me. And I said, wait a minute, you're air traffic controllers. You're supposed to know it's in our airspace.
Did they not even know that something was flying there?
No, I mean they saw the lights and they were alarmed that something was in the airspace.
There's something. Let's just ignore it. Maybe it'll go away.
No,
Dr. Lynne,
very interested. They were very interested.
We have a caller.
Sure.
Oh, this is Wade. Wade, you're on the air.
Thank you, Lola. You guys are big time because I heard your guest on the #1 show in America Thursday or Friday night. She was on Coast to Coast.
Oh yeah,
it was Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Yeah, that show robs me of a lot of sleep.
I could attest to that. Let me tell you.
I wanted to ask your guest. I saw the mass sighting. In fact, CNN broke in and did.
Oh, we're good.
CNN broke in and covered it as long as the lights were on.
No, and they didn't. Nobody.
The mass sighting.
The night of the mass sighting. Were you here in Phoenix?
No, I watched it on CNN here in Wheeling.
Right. Well, that didn't come forth till after the mass sighting.
And what gets me is the military tried to downplay it by saying it was flares that they
that wasn't until 5 months later. There's a lot more to this story. That's why I finally came forward after 7 years of anonymity, because it was so frustrating that when they finally did come up with something 5 months later, after a USA Today article came out and opened up our sighting to international scrutiny, and everybody was saying, why isn't there an investigation? Why isn't there an explanation? When they talked to the witnesses and their descriptions were so heartfelt and so detailed, then suddenly a month later they come out with the flare theory, and I can tell you more about that story if you'd like to hear about it. But initially there was no investigation.
What was neat is a few months later there was a 1-hour special on the Phoenix lights, and there was a guy that is a lighting expert.
Yeah, right.
And he said the candle powers, he had a charts and everything, graphs.
Mm-hmm.
He said the candle powers from the Phoenix lights did not match flares. So he shot a hole in the military's theory right there.
Well,
really?
There is so much to the story. I'm glad you called in because...
and one last question before you get rolling again.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
What is on that South Mountain? Was that directly over anything? Does anyone live up there? Is it a community?
No. It's a public park range, and they actually have red blinking lights, towers up there, so the airlines know that there's a mountain there. And these lights were lower and in front of South Mountain. And in fact, you bring up a really good point that behind that mountain range, and if you look at my pictures again, I have the topography in the first couple pictures where you can see where the Estrella mountain range is behind South Mountain at a little bit of a distance. And Estrella means star in Spanish. Tuck that away for a second. But in between those mountain ranges where they intersect is the Gila River Indian Reservation.
Mm.
And they serendipitously, and I have come not to believe in coincidence because so many things have happened that are just too coincidental since the mass sighting. And this is just one of them. 6 months before the mass sighting, I was invited to present my substance abuse prevention education program to their school. They have one school there. And we got friendly. And after the mass sighting, because my pictures, if you look at them, consistently seem to be showing up. These phenomena consistently seem to be showing up right in that area where South Mountain and the Estrellas intersect. So I called them and I said, did anybody happen to see lights back in March 13th? And they started to laugh. And I said, is that funny? And they said, are you kidding? We've been looking up at them for centuries. We call them sky people, light beings. It's part of their culture.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Wow.
And that's right here. I had no idea. And I learned when finally the mass sighting happened and I pushed my entire professional medical career aside to find a logical source and meaning, I found so much additional credible data, including the fact that many indigenous peoples around the world invite.
I haven't seen a UFO in person, but I'll tell you that shape, that V shape of the light, it really looked like the UFO that you saw. Well, your typical UFOs that you see in movies or on television. It was a perfect V shape, and it was huge. It was huge.
Now, when was this?
And I'm gonna beg your pardon.
When was this?
The mass sighting when it was on CNN.
Oh, when it was on CNN.
So it would be five months after you saw it, Lynn.
Right.
So I'm going to hang up and enjoy listening to your guest, fellas. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Wade.
Thanks, Wade.
Hey, see you. Dr. Lynn, if you can hang on just one more second. Sorry, we got to take a break. It'll be a short one if you can just hang on.
Absolutely.
Everybody, you're listening to Whispers Radio on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. You're listening to West Finley. That's my band. Learn to love it.
Breaking free from toxic social flaws that seem to pull me into seas of different faces where I fight to swim, but
I'm always dying to know where celebrity shop and what high-priced designers are behind their stylish looks. But
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Whispers Radio on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. It is 6:38 p.m. I'm Jordan Klein. He's Nick Queen. She's lovely Lola. And the wonderful Mike Chiseco just left from Grandview Park, who's helping us out tremendously when we have our big event coming in June. We're on the phone now with Dr. Lynne Kitei. She is the author and did you produce also the film?
I wrote, directed, and produced it.
There you go. The Phoenix Lights. She did it all. Now,
well, I'm trying. It's not easy, and I certainly one person can't do everything. And I really appreciate you having me on as a guest, so we can raise awareness and let other people know what really happened here.
Now you're coming out with an extended book. What are you adding?
Actually, it came out this week, and just to get back to the story. I mean, I pushed my entire professional life aside for 4 years to try to find a logical source and meaning for what I had witnessed and photographed. I've yet to find it, but my really meticulous investigation, and I went down to the University of Arizona Optical Science Department, Consciousness Study Department, Arizona State University Geology, Anthropology, Astronomy, Mathematics departments, as well as the renowned Brooks Institute of Photography and other physicists across the board. No one could give me an answer to what I had documented. If anything, they were just as fascinated. We don't have the technology yet to definitively define what these things are. But as the caller mentioned, we do have people working on it to really try, and that's what we need to do. We have to get science into this. Jim Delatoso at Village Labs did a spectral analysis and showed quite clearly, and we have him in the documentary, and it was confirmed by Brooks Institute of Photography that his data was substantial and credible.
Wow.
That we have nothing that can compare to what these light characteristics were, and that includes anything that's here on Earth that we know of. So that's saying one thing, and the other thing is what people really felt, not only during the mass sighting but since. I mean, it really touched people very, very deeply. But anyway, just investigating this opened up a whole new world of history of these things. I had no idea that not only are there primitive pictures, cave etchings in this stone in Peru and other places in Pakistan, where these people were drawing what would be called now UFOs. How did they know about that?
I've heard that.
Yeah, how did they know that unless they had seen something? And certainly in the 15th and 16th centuries and paintings, there are depicted UFOs. And we know certainly there's stories since the beginning of human documentation, even in the Bible, Ezekiel's wheel. It's fascinating when you look back. And even here in the mountains here, there's a fella, Jeff Woolwine, who is really about finding petroglyphs and ones that are similar to some of the things that we're seeing in the skies here. It's really fascinating. So I started compiling a journal of not only what was happening here, but of the history of similar UFO sightings worldwide. In fact, in the 90s, UK had a very similar sighting, Belgium as well. They came to the United States and said, "Are you doing this?" And the United States flatly denied that we were, plus the fact they were working also together, which was wonderful. I mean, the universities and the scientists, as well as civilians and the government, were all working together to try to find an answer to these things. So, there's other countries now even coming forward with thousands of UFO files from UK and Belgium and Brazil and Mexico and so forth that are saying, hey, these are real. And certainly most things can be explained, but there's a certain percentage that cannot. And it's time for science to jump on board and try to give us some answers here. And, just because we don't have the technology yet to definitively define what these things are, it doesn't mean they're not real. In fact, it took 17 centuries, Nick, for humankind to realize that with the advent of the microscope, that there are zillions of microorganisms all around us, even in our bodies. Some are beneficial, some are pathogens, but nonetheless, we've learned to live with them. And we've also discovered in the past few years that electromagnetic energies are around every living cell. And just because we can't see these energies or tiny living organisms or radio waves doesn't mean they're not real. Yeah. And, we might just be looking on the AM dial for an FM frequency. So we really need to move forward in science to look at this question as a science question so we can move forward in our evolution. But anyway, I finished up with a 750-page journal from all this intriguing stuff and more. I mean, there's a lot of information that we can get into, needless to say, and I squeezed the best of what I found into 220 pages. I stayed anonymous the whole time. I let my pictures out there. This is not about me. This is about the data, and the data speaks for itself. And through it all, as an educator, all that was important for me is that people saw what we had seen. And then ultimately, when I had so much compelling information, it just seemed too important not to share as an educator. And so then I decided after 7 years of anonymity to come forward in 2004. And we did the documentary shortly after that. I'd gone back to work as a chief clinical consultant of the Wellness and Imaging Center at the Arizona Heart Institute here while I was working on the book part-time. And when I finally came forward, was approached by filmmakers to do a documentary, and coming from a video and workbook curriculum background, which, by the way, my health programs are distributed by Discovery Education, I felt almost obliged to do the same for this, to have something visual for people to see. But I didn't know if people were going to do it, because I had stayed anonymous. So, the professors and the experts and the witnesses who had emailed me, and I have over 11,000 emails. I mean, from people all over the world sharing their stories. And that was, by the way, one of the main reasons I came forward too.
Now, I want to ask you, in your book, you mentioned missing time. Did you experience any of this?
Well, I'll get back to that. That's one of the things that
Okay.
that I'm sharing now for the first time. In fact, I was never going to share it, but I'll get back to that in a second. So, as far as the documentary, everyone I called said they would do it. It was just magical how it all came together, and I left the Arizona Heart Institute to finish the documentary and haven't looked back, and we've won over a dozen international film festival awards, which is unheard of for something of this genre, and it keeps improving, and we keep improving that. And,
well, it's in Blockbuster. I watched it.
Yeah, do you like it?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Well,
that's why we got you on the show the first time. I watched it. I was like, we need to get this girl right here. I think it had like a picture of you on there, and that's Nick found you.
Well, I really appreciate it, guys. Who am I talking to now?
Jordan Klein.
Oh, Jordan. Oh, okay, Jordan. Thank you. My son's name is Jordan.
There we go.
Yeah, good name. Good name. Anyway, the documentary is really an overview, even though we sprinkle the Phoenix Lights in there. But as an educator, I didn't know anything about this subject, so I certainly thought that maybe others would appreciate having an overview of the topic and haven't looked back. I mean, it's just been an amazing whirlwind, wonderful adventure since, and many people have been helped by the first book, as I was alluding to, just being able to get it out in the open. I mean, it's time we addressed it and accepted it and studied it and move forward in our own evolution. But one of the major reasons as a physician that it's important to come forward, Jordan, is because so many people have had unexplained phenomena experiences themselves, and they don't know how to deal with it, and they're afraid to talk about it, and it festers, and that's not healthy. So it's really important that we stop the ridicule and the criticizing, and even if it's explainable, it's real for that person. So it's important to get it out in the open, and hopefully people will even be healed by just talking about it. So that's one aspect. Now, since I came forward in 2004 to answer your original question, Jordan, a lot has happened. A lot has happened. Not only have there been additional sightings, not only here, but we had very similar sightings all over the world. I mean, they're being compared to the Phoenix Lights, which is amazing.
Really?
Now. And oh yeah, I mean, it's just amazing that when people see these orbs or triangle or V-shaped craft, which are showing up at a faster pace worldwide.
Now, see, it's because of the work that you did that people are now recognizing that.
Well, I'm just one voice. There's many other people, that have contributed, and it's really a team effort. But, I have to say, having the book and the documentary out there hopefully helped a bit. And now, not only have there been additional sightings, even just here in Tinley Park, Illinois, and in Stephenville, Texas, but more people have come forward, including our former governor, Fife Symington, who originally mocked the sighting and
I
made
remember
a joke
seeing
out
that.
of it. Yeah, he marched out one of his aides, and this was shortly after a USA Today article came out on June 18th and opened our sighting up to international scrutiny, and we were deluged by media from all over the world, and they couldn't understand, as we couldn't understand, who were residents here, that there was no investigation, no explanation, nothing. No, it was like
Swept
what
under the
happened
rug.
on March 13th. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. But once it got out there internationally, they had to come up with something. And about a month later, let me go back for a second. Shortly after that, the governor called a press conference to say that he discovered who the culprit was, and everybody took it seriously. And he marched out one of his aides in a big alien head costume. And I have to say that it offended a lot of people, particularly parents that were with children who knew that what they saw was not of this earth. And
how many people saw this, Lynn?
They're estimating over 10,000. But I have to tell you, I've been doing an anniversary showing of our documentary for the last 5. Actually, this is the 5th year. We're so excited. Next Sunday, anybody in the neighborhood at the Scottsdale Harkin Shea Theater at 1:00 and at 4:00. It's usually sold out. It's unbelievable how many people come, and I've done it numerous times. And there are thousands of people that have come to the show already, and I know many of them have seen it. So, and I have thousands of emails as well. So, a lot of people. This was throughout the state, and actually, some people saw it in New Mexico and also in Las Vegas area, in Nevada. And I actually talk about a crew from a commercial airline that had an experience as they were coming from Phoenix to California in the new edition. It's pretty riveting what happened to them. But at any rate, the reason that I wanted to come forward with this information is that there were more sightings, more interviews, because right after the 10th anniversary, the former governor came forward for whatever reason. He bravely, courageously came forward to say that he actually saw the craft, one of the craft. And there were many things happening here, by the way. There wasn't just orbs and there wasn't just craft. In fact, if people go to the website, Phoenix Lights Network, if you get onto the GAP page, GAT, that's Geospatial Animation Project, that is a compilation, talk about team effort, of the UFO Reporting Center in Seattle, Washington reports, as well as reports that came into Village Labs. Michael Tanner and Bill Hamilton were investigators that were collecting reports, as well as the former councilwoman Frances Emma Barwood. She was the only person in government that even asked to investigate it, and she was slammed. And she got hundreds, actually over 1,000 reports, as well as Arizona MUFON, have now all been compiled in a visual, in illustrations by Larry Lowe, to show all the different, there's about 8 or 9 different types of craft that people saw. Now, whether it was one craft that could morph into different, looking like different things, or, and we're talking mile to 2 mile wide objects, or if it was different objects, a parade throughout the state, because there were things going on at the same time throughout the state, or it was a different perspective from where the person was standing. We may not ever know, but we used multiple reports to make each picture, and it's fascinating when you look at those alone. And in fact, one of them, which we're now putting on the new version of the documentary, which is coming out March 30th. It's evolving and
now what is
growing.
What is it called?
It's the Phoenix Lights Beyond Top Secret.
Ooh.
And and Vanguard International Cinema is releasing it March 30th, and the craft that's on that cover is actually the same craft that was seen 1 month before our mass sighting in St. Petersburg, Russia, on February 19th, 1997. They also had a mass sighting. I didn't learn about that till a year after our mass sighting, when I really was doing my intensive investigation. But a couple people did take video, and one of them looks exactly like that. It's amazing when you really look at the whole picture. There is so much more to this story. Oh, and you asked about the missing time. Okay.
We got like 2 minutes left before we got to cut.
Okay. And then when we have more time, maybe we should talk about it then.
Well, no, that's all the time we'll have.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me just leave the listener with this. If you go back to the 95 sighting, the closed sighting. Now, what I shared with you is what I remember. A year after the mass sighting, there was another sighting here, and 4 of us got video of it. It's in our documentary. And I was advised to get in touch with a Navy optical physicist, Dr. Bruce Maccabee, and share the data with him, which I did. And as an afterthought, I stuck in the first and last picture that I took in 95. He comes back to me and says, "How long was that sighting?" I said, "I don't know, 2-3 minutes." He said, "Are you sure? Check with your husband." I did. And he said, "That's impossible." I said, "What do you mean?" And we have the whole report actually on the missing time page on our website if you want to take a peek at it. But at any rate, he said if you look at the first and last picture, there are many lights on in the first picture that are off, groups of lights. Whole groups of lights off. In the last picture, he had me do an experiment to go out on the balcony and shoot the skyline every 15 minutes, every half hour, different nights, so we could see when the lights start going off. Now, my husband had called me out of the bath originally to see it, and I take a bath between 7 and 8, so let's be conservative and say 8 o'clock. The lights started going out at 9 o'clock. The last picture is indicative of about 10:30, 11 o'clock. So what do you do with that? I mean, I didn't even want to go there, and I did not even mention it in the first book. It's too bizarre. I was never going to share it, but I had an opportunity now to do a revised edition, and, you know, the data has helped. The data has helped to, it's important data that really has advanced not only the credibility of the sighting, but may help science to really take a look at it. And when I was deciding whether to include it in this expanded version, because what ended up was that Dr. Bruce Maccabee presented the case at the MUFON International Symposium in Washington, D.C. in 1999 as the first photographic evidence ever of missing time.
Wow.
And I never even mentioned it in the first book because it was just too bizarre, and I was anonymous. Anybody that was there doesn't even know it was me until now. But I thought, you know what? This data may be really important now that science is starting to catch up and talk in quantum physics and quantum mechanics about possibilities in string theory of 10, 11 different dimensions, parallel universes. Maybe this is to show us that linear time is not true time, that it's that past, present, and future is primitive. That's our concept of what time is.
Yeah.
And maybe this will help move us forward to open the door so we can really address the possibilities of other dimensions and other possibilities that we are not alone.
So a whole new world kind of opened up to you just then, right?
Oh yeah.
So are you still a skeptic of anything?
I'm always skeptical. I really am. I'm always a little skeptical about all of this. If somebody would give me an answer tomorrow that this was, something earthly and, whatever, that's fine. I mean, that's fine with me. I am open.
But they'd have to prove it.
Well, you got it. Show me. And you know what? And I didn't even mention this. This is the first time I've had a chance to mention this. We asked after they had announced that it was flares. Okay. Fine. If it's flares, reenact it. Okay. Show us.
Yeah.
Well, they announced right before the 3rd anniversary, 3 Air National Guards were coming into town to send off flares to show everybody it was the Phoenix Lights. Well, it was a joke. I mean, it was a joke. It was so. In fact, when you look at the video, I mean, you have to laugh because they tried to make a triangle. It fell apart immediately. Flares cannot keep a formation. It's
that's kind of like what the caller Wade said. It didn't even look anything like it.
Right, and they have huge smoke trails that are illuminated by the flare itself. That's what they're used for. They said they were military illumination flares. Well, that's what they're used for, to illuminate. So for the residents that saw that so-called failed reenactment,
it was a joke to all of them.
Of course. I mean, we knew that, hey, something real is going on here. So, and that led me further to keep investigating.
Yeah,
and,
we got to go now, Lynn.
Well,
I'm getting the numbers up from Lola.
That's okay. It was a pleasure to speak with you.
I want to thank you very much. The website's thephoenixlights.net.
You
correct?
Got it. And I hope people will take a look at the new book. There's a lot more information in there and a lot more to the story.
New book came out last week. The movie comes out March 30th, correct?
March 30th, and we got the one up now on Amazon.com. Both of them are on Amazon.com if people want to take a look at it now.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Lynne Kitei. The book is The Phoenix Lights. Thank you very much. We're going to have you back. We love having you.
Well, I love being here. Thank you. Have a great night.
And bye-bye.
Bye now.
All right. It is time for CNN, the news. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to Whispers Radio on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog.
Your destiny, he let you down. Pick yourself up off the ground. Leave all the peace and walk away. Pick up your pride and face another day. Take your heart into your head.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Whispers Radio on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. I'm Jordan Klein, he's Nick Queen, and she is the lovely Lola Miller. I've been saying that, Lola.
Did ya?
I did.
I missed hearing it.
Oh, I'm sure you did. Nick, did you say it when I was gone?
Yes,
You evil jerk. You probably didn't do it right. Did she giggle?
a couple of times.
Oh, okay. It happens. Give us a call, 304-214-1600. If you're out of the area, 1-866-514-1600. That's our toll-free number. Give us a call. Let us know what's going on, how you doing, how you feeling. Tell me you miss me. Because I'm conceited like that.
Uh-huh.
It happens. Lola, you been keeping up with Lost?
Of course.
What are you thinking? Are you going nuts?
Yeah, and you won't believe what I did to my sister this past week.
She didn't see it and you told her what happened?
No.
Oh.
She didn't see it. So I came home on Wednesday, and we watched the pop-up one.
Yeah.
Then I pulled up the next one and inadvertently deleted it.
You can get it on Hulu.
We have no computer.
I'm working on it.
Because Nick hasn't fixed it yet.
Well, once it starts.
So yeah, now she has to watch it with the pop-ups. And while I love the pop-up, it's not good, I don't think, to watch it the very first time.
Yeah.
Because you're trying too hard to read what's written underneath.
No, I never saw the pop-up one.
Oh, man.
Does that kind of lace everything in together?
Yeah, it really, and they'll only do it probably till the end of the month.
Really?
Because then some new show is starting the end of March.
No, of course.
But it's at 8 o'clock, and it's last week's episode, and they have a little pop-up block that comes up, and it tells you, kind of connects things, or say a character shows up, it'll say what episode it was from
like,
and what
boop,
season.
Claire.
Well, no, it really does explain a lot of the stuff. So it's really good the second time you're watching it because, you've seen it all relatively close together.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember stuff from 5.5 years ago, and it's not working. So,
see, I finally got my dad to give it a try, and he's been watching it, I think, like 4 or 5 episodes a night on his laptop. He's on season 4 now, and he's like, I'm like, oh, just wait, you know, and like every time, like he'll come back, he's like, oh my God.
I know. Well, this week's TV guide.
He loves Kate. He's in love with Kate.
He'll get over that. He'll get over that. Jack is the one I just want to slap into next week. He is such a petulant little child.
He used to be like the tough guy. Like I like the first season. He was like, yeah, Jack, get some.
I've always liked Sawyer. Sawyer has always been my favorite, and Sherry just loves Ben.
What?
Yeah.
That's odd.
But it's so good, and we're learning a lot. You know, it's answering a lot of questions, and yet, God, the more it answers, the more. Last week's episode was just phenomenal. So, I don't know. I want to see the end of it, and yet I don't want it to end.
Yeah, that's how I was when I was watching Prison Break. When I knew it was like the last season, I'm like, no, I don't want to watch another one. Okay, play it. No, I don't want to watch another one.
See, I stopped watching Prison Break just before they had broken him out of that Panamanian jail or something. And then, I don't know, something happened and they bumped it to another. I don't know what it was, but I know what it was. It wasn't coming in real clear, and I was having a really hard time understanding the dial, what was being said because there was so much background noise.
Yeah.
That I just stopped watching it because it was just too hard. It really was work to watch it. So, do you get HBO?
No.
Yes. Oh. Do you get BBC?
I've never
114.
tried.
Try 114. There's a new series out. Do you get on demand?
Yeah.
Okay, it's on demand. Called Survivors. And it's kind of like Jericho, but not.
See, I never watched that. So
kind of like The Stand, but not.
Oh.
It takes place in Britain. 9 out of every 10 people are dead. in the country from a virus. And it turns out that the government had designed this virus, and I don't know how it got out, but that's what's killed everybody. And it attacks your immune system so that your body starts attacking itself. So you have, instead of like in the stand where all these cars are backed up on the highways and all this kind of stuff, in this, it's just empty streets. It's like everybody went, because everybody did. They all went home to die. And there's just, because it's only 1 out of every 10 people alive, there are very few survivors, and they're spread out all over. But once again, it points back to what would you do if you survive something like that? And you have, this one group of people that are basically good. They're helping each other. They're sticking together. And then they go into this town and go into a supermarket because they need water. I mean, nothing's working. There's no electricity. There's no gas. There's no water.
Yeah.
So they go into this grocery store, and right away, some people come with guns. This is ours. You can't have it. So it's one of those moral dilemma shows. What would you do if you were one of these survivors? Wow. It is so good, and it's on demand, so you can catch up on it. It's only like, I think this was the 4th hour, was this past week, but it's on BBC. And it is really, really good, without all those philosophical and theological and metaphysical overtones and undertones that the stand had. Yeah. This is strictly, what would you do?
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That's neat. You really said it's on demand?
Yeah.
I've been watching 24 too. I'm on season 3, so you can't tell me anything because it changes all like every season.
Well, yeah, every season it's different.
But it's pretty awesome. I'm liking it. Dude. He's pretty bad A.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
I think it was season 2. His daughter went to a police station or something, and they're like blah 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 blah. He's like, listen, or she's like, listen, my dad's Jack Bauer. I know it. And I'm like, yeah, he is.
Have you done the drinking game yet?
No.
Every time he says, damn it. I guarantee in an hour you're smashed.
It should be like every time that she gets kidnapped.
Oh, his daughter is the most annoying. It's like, oh, just take her and be done with it. She disappears for a couple seasons. You don't have to deal with her. So, but yeah, 24 is great. Great.
Do you think this is the last season?
You know what? I do. From an interview that I saw Kiefer Sutherland do, and let's face it, these are only one day in the life of, and so far this is the 8th day that we're privy to him. But he's getting older, and in another year, 2 years, do we really want to see Kiefer Sutherland playing the bad guy all the time? Well, that's because you're only to day 3, so it's just well, wait a minute.
Jack Bauer's my hero. I had it muted. Sorry.
I know. I love Jack. Out of all the characters on TV, have you been watching Human Target?
My wife has.
Oh, I love that show. I think it's so cool. That's based on a comic book hero, I think. What?
You're going to have to get him because I went retarded on the phones again.
You hung up on our guest?
Yeah, I hung up on him. I was like, hey, you ready to go on the air? Hold on just a second. Click. I thought I pushed the hold button.
Herb, if you're listening.
Hey, I'm sorry, man.
Wow.
But, yeah. Our guest coming up, his name is Herb Street. He has developed what he calls the Herb Street method. And I guess that's a new way to investigate the paranormal. He says he developed a way for EVP to where he can actually communicate for hours with the spirit instead of, going home and checking your recorder for voices like, most people do. He says you can sit there and have conversations with the EVP using this method. So,
all right. Oh, man. I hope you're coming up here, Herb.
Yep.
Are ya?
Yep.
I'm hanging out with you then, because I have yet to hear anything, see anything, feel anything. I so want to communicate with a spirit. So how do you do this?
Tell us about your method, man.
The method is so much more than just real-time EVP work. Pretty much the originators or the most well-known people for real-time analysis doing EVP work is, of course, the Constantinos. Now, I went ahead and took real-time analysis to the next level. I use multiple devices and multiple techniques all at the same time to communicate with the spirit world. And the way that we do this is we use EMF meters, K3 meters, K2 meters, MEL meters, tri-field meters, temp guns, external IR lights, digital cameras, with night shot and voice recorders. And I know this sounds like there's a lot to this, which there is. I mean, I can talk about this for hours, just to try to touch base and to let you guys in on the method here. The basis of it is like we're having a conversation here on this show. Mm-hmm. And if I was sitting down in a supposed haunted location and I just pressed record on a voice recorder, right, like most of these paranormal research groups are doing to date, they set up a camera or two. They've got maybe one K2 meter, maybe one EMF meter, maybe two cameras, and they just press record and they leave the equipment there and they're asking questions. Now, you will never truly experience an intelligent haunt if you are investigating the paranormal with this method. Now, I would go out there when I first started doing paranormal research, and I'd come back with, EVPs here and there, and I kept scratching my head. There's got to be a better way to communicate with the other side where you're having a two-way conversation, or you're never going to experience an intelligent style haunt. Okay? So it took me a couple years to develop this. I've been in the field seriously for a little over 7 years now, but my whole life I've been into the paranormal. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to go into graveyards and sit there and want to experience something, Yeah. And I've lost loved ones. I've lost a sister. My grandparents are all on the other side, and I needed answers, and I wasn't satisfied with what was out there, as far as researching the paranormal. You see a lot of groups out there, and there are a lot of good groups out there that are trying to push the boundaries here, but there's not very many alternative methods to investigating the paranormal. It seems like groups seem to focus on technology instead of methodology. Now, I think it's time that we switch it up and change the methodology of investigating paranormal and start pushing those boundaries rather than, let's focus on building this device. Let's focus on, seeing what kind of spectrum of lights we can take pictures in. I mean, if you or anyone out there has experienced paranormal and you've seen a ghost, your eyes can only see in certain spectrums of light. So why are we focusing so much time and energy into seeing in full spectrum cameras when there's people out there that are experiencing the paranormal with their eyes? So I think it's time that we focus on methodology here. Yeah. And technology will catch up with us. But right now is a great time for a paranormal researcher. I mean, there is a lot of great tools out there, and I did mention a couple, and I'd like to go back a little bit here because I know I'm talking 1,000 miles per hour because we only got an hour here, and there's just so much ground to cover. All right. The beauty of this, the way that I like to investigate the paranormal is we set up for an investigation. I come in there with my team. We've got multiple cameras going. From the second I walk on site on a supposed haunted location, from the second I get there, we've got everything going. Whether we're setting up, I mean, you hear so many times about paranormal groups that go into a location and they just experience something, but no one was filming. Okay? Yeah. You've got to film instantly. The second you step out of the vehicle, you're filming. Okay? And there's multiple people filming. I mean, if you've got the equipment, you've got to use it, folks. I mean, you have to. And, and when you set up for an EVP session, you can't just set up one recorder. That's not a controlled study. You're only checking things out from one perspective, one device. You've got to have 6 or 7 voice recorders going. You've got to have 6 or 7 K2 meters going. I mean, there's been so many times where I've sat down for an EVP session, and I've got multiple devices going. I've got the MEL meter. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Tell us about it real quick.
It's basically an ambient temperature gun. Well, it's not a gun, but it's an ambient temperature gauge, and it also detects EMF.
Oh, wow.
So it's a really neat device. I just got into that. I fell in love with it. I also got into a new device called a K3 meter, which is basically a tri-field meter that picks up electrostatic fields, which is a whole different spectrum other than EMF levels is electromagnetic fields, but there's also the electrostatic field, and that's another great device. But you've got to use them all together. I mean, you can't go on site, and what kills me is there's these groups out there that are, they've got so much money behind them and then so many different tools that they have at their repertoire, but yet they do not use them all at once. You see these people that walk in and they've got one K2 meter and they've got one camera going if they're lucky.
Yeah.
And I don't feel satisfied putting out an EVP without having multiple devices backing that EVP up. I mean, you can't. I mean, you listen to these EVPs that are out there, where's the video backup so you know someone didn't say anything? And I'm not saying intentional contamination, but there is unintentional contamination. I've been on locations where someone says something in the corner and you play back the EVP later and you're thinking it's a spirit. Yeah. How would you ever know whether or not it was unless you have video backup, filming everything, the investigators and the environment?
I know for when Nick and I we had our group going, when we were doing EVP work, if there was any, like everybody in the room, like let's say a stomach gurgled or something, that person would have to say, my stomach gurgled, or I sniffed loud, or, I mean, we had to keep everything in check because listening to an EVP and all of a sudden you hear, you're like, oh my God, it's a ghost. Well, Nick might have had Mexican or Chinese before, and it could have been anything.
Right. Yeah. Now, have you dabbled with any real-time analysis before?
No.
Okay. Now, it to me, it just dawned on me like common sense. You know what I mean? It was so simple, but yet no one's using it at a massive level. I mean, the only people that I could really think of that are trying to get it out there are the Constantinos, and I don't understand if it's because people feel that it's not entertaining to watch, some of these major television shows out there, if people are doing real-time analysis for everything. But I think that if you were watching a show on a national level using nothing but real-time analysis, I think the fan base would just grow and grow, and it would explode. I mean, if everyone was using this method, there would be no denying the fact that we are not alone. It would be undeniable.
Now, explain for me a real-time analysis.
Okay.
Like just say it into a recorder and then play back, say it into a recorder, play back, say it into a recorder, play back. Is that what you're talking about?
Real-time analysis is you're sitting there, you've got 3 or 4 cameras going at all times, filming the investigator, filming the environment, okay? If, for instance, and I'm not even talking EVP, if you see a shadow person, you think you saw a full-body apparition, you've got 3 cameras going, right?
Yeah.
You stop that camera that was pointed in that direction, you play it back, filming it on another camera so there's no break from that video feed, no editing. It's all real time. You're experiencing everything that you would if you were there, okay? Whether it be a mist, a disembodied voice, it's getting analyzed there on site so that you do not have any lag. You don't have a day, 2 days, a week go by where you're analyzing everything. And then what good is that? After a week goes by and you hear a help me, how are you going to help that spirit after a week later? Sometimes the investigations are a couple states away. You can't drive back down there and continue the conversation.
Yeah.
Whether you're using K2 meters or whether you're using EVP recorders. But, that's where, people that get kind of thrown off by the method. When I talk to some people about the method, they focus on the fact that, it's real-time analysis for EVP work. But I try to, direct them. This is not just EVP work. It's everything. I mean, everything in real time. It's intense. I mean, you sit there and you think you get 1 or 2 EVPs if you're lucky in an investigation, okay? And maybe a couple K2 spikes or maybe some, sporadic EMF levels or the temperature's dropping. But if you've got all that going on at once, okay, and it correlates every piece of evidence that you're gathering.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have it all backed up on camera on top of that. It's just undeniable. Okay. Now, if you come back to the client and you didn't film something, but you just explained to them you had, temperature drops, temperature increases, you had some weird EMF levels, you had a couple EVPs, but you don't have the video backup, it's just a personal experience. Okay, that's not evidence in my eyes. You absolutely have to film everything. I know it's a pain in the butt, but it's so worth it. If you're there on site and you're working 9-10 hours, do you really want to throw all that evidence away because you weren't filming it?
Yeah, well, you must go through hours and hours and hours and hours of footage per investigation.
Oh, definitely. I put on a local show out of Rochester, New York, and we're on all over upstate New York, at least 6 different stations locally.
Uh-huh.
And we do not do any editing. I pop in the tape, and we know because we use real-time analysis if we had a good session or not, whether or not we get evidence or not. We put on an hour show, and there's almost zero editing when it comes down to it. I mean, I've got the beginning of the show, the intro with the music, the outro with the music, the credits, the names, and that. But there's no music. There's no editing, or hardly any editing at all. I mean, sometimes there's.
So you have your own TV show.
Right.
Okay.
And I put it up on YouTube too as evidence because I'm trying to get this out there, the best way that I can. Because I honestly feel that if this gets out there, it's going to change the world forever. Not just the paranormal field, but the scientific community will be forced to accept this as a true science.
I can't agree with you more about this real time. I haven't been into this for very long. And one of the things that I find really kind of disheartening about going on an investigation is that it does. You have to go home. You have to replay it. You have to figure out what you've got, if you have anything at all. And then, like you said, if you hear somebody asking for help, well, how are you going to do that, 2 days later? And it makes so much, what you're saying makes so much sense that you need to know immediately if you have something. And that's why I'm going to follow you around when you're here.
Well, what blows my mind about the whole situation is I watch all the media here to see what's going on in the paranormal world, And I'm not knocking anybody. I commend everybody in this field that's doing what they're doing. But it blows my mind that almost no one has ever heard of anything close to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay. And you could just put on the television to see. I mean, it would be out there. Believe me.
Yeah. All the TV shows that are working now have nothing like that.
Okay.
And don't mention Paranormal State because Lolo will go crazy.
Right. Well, like I said, I'm not going to knock anybody. I mean, I commend them all for what they're doing, believe me. But I truly feel that I need this method to get out there because once everyone uses it, like for someone like yourself, I mean, you've never had any experience. If you were to sit down and you were to see this in action, okay, I mean, you could sit there and debunk it and you will see that there is no denying it. We are definitely communicating with something intelligent. Okay? Yeah. And you can't say that if you're just sitting back and, you're watching evidence. I mean, there's going to be skeptics no matter what you do. Bottom line. Okay? Even with my method of communicating with the other side, there's so much evidence you're going to get the skeptics. Because they're going to say, there's no way you can communicate for that long. That's impossible.
Yeah.
Okay? But what I say to the skeptics is come sit in with me. I invite anyone on the planet, and I would never say no to anyone. Okay? Come sit in with me or try it for yourself. You don't even have to work with me. If you apply these techniques yourself, you will get results, guaranteed. Okay? And I'm not a salesman. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm just trying to get this out there because I think this is an important discovery that I feel that if anyone that is interested in the paranormal, has the opportunity to advance their stuff, I would love to help them with that.
Now, I got somebody in our chat room wants to know, what do you think about orbs?
Orbs. Well, see, I've seen orbs with my own eyes. So if you can see them with your own eyes and not from a picture camera or a still camera or a video camera, and you can back it up with evidence, I definitely think there is some correlation with paranormal activity in orbs. However, it's so hard if you catch it on a camera with a flash because how do you know it's not reflective off of a dust particle?
Oh.
Okay? So, I mean, if you could see it with your eyes, I would say it's something paranormal. I don't know if it's a ghost or not. but I definitely think it has something to do with the paranormal.
And you've seen it with your eyes, so you have a strong feeling on what they are.
Definitely. I was doing an investigation at the Allentown Museum, and I helped them out a lot. And I was filming, and all of a sudden I seen this ball of light just floating there, and then it disappeared. And me and another team member, Tim, we sat there and stared at this ball of light, filming it the whole time for a good hour.
Wow.
At least. Okay? And I'm looking outside, seeing if it's cars going by. I mean, believe me, I'm not just sitting there saying, I think there's a child there. I mean, I'm feeling. I sat there, I did debunk it for an hour straight, and I just couldn't, and that's what really convinced me that there is something to orbs. Before that point, I totally threw them out.
Yeah. Like most do. Herb, if you want to hang on just a minute, it's time for us to go on a break, and we'll be right back.
Yep.
Okay. You're listening to Whispers Radio on AM 1600, WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, and UPRN, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We'll be right back.
Walking out that door, this couldn't be what you dreamed of.
And now back to Whispers, brought to you by West Virginia Penitentiary Tours.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Whispers Radio on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog. I'm Jordan Klein. He's Nick Queen, and she is the lovely Lola Miller. We are on the phone now with Mr. Herb Street, talking about the Herb Street method, his method of investigating ghosts and doing EVP work. Herb, you still with us?
Yep.
We've been getting a lot of messages. You got quite the fan on Pal Talk message board right now. Dale the Ghost, he wants to know where he can meet you, or if he can meet you, where have you investigated, and do you believe in God?
Those are great questions. Well, I go all over the country, like I said. I do. My home base is out of the Allentown Museum, out of Victor, New York, which is a historical site. And I do help out there. I do lectures there, and the money goes towards restoration funds to keep the building there for years to come. And also, they do hold paranormal investigations there for a very reasonable price, which I think is like $30 a person. And all the funds from that also go into a restoration fund, with a small percentage that goes to the staff that helps out. But and also, I do believe in God. I was very religious growing up. I was brought up a Catholic. So I did face a lot of, problems with that growing up, because I was told that, this stuff is evil and I'm not supposed to believe in it.
Yeah.
And all that. And then I, lost my faith for a while after I lost my grandparents back to back. They died, I believe, 12 months apart. So it was pretty wild, and that definitely made me question my faith. But then I got into this, and I've just seen and heard and caught too much evidence that have, pointed me in the direction that there definitely is a God, because these things, these people on the other side that I've had communications with have told me, heaven is everywhere, God is everywhere, heaven's beautiful, the light's all around us. I mean, I've caught EVPs, I've heard disembodied voices saying these strong statements.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they would lie about something like that.
Yeah, if you're going to be able to be heard finally, why lie?
Right.
You also have Jamie says hello, and Tim says hi, and we do have a caller.
Okay.
If you can hold on just a minute. We got Josh. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Oh, wonderful.
Good. I have a question for the guest. Do you think, I have a couple questions that are kind of wrapped up in one. Do you think that spirits, this might be just more a personal opinion of yours, but do you think the spirits have an ability to want to be seen or not?
I definitely believe that, and I think that's why we have a lot of problems with capturing them on video.
Okay.
Is because people go into these locations and they do not show respect. They talk to them like they're children and not equals. Would you want to show yourself if I walk in your house and I talk to you like you were a child? I mean, these are things that are included in the Herb Street method. You have to show the spirits respect. You have to talk to them like they're equals. And I have caught incredible evidence because of this.
Are we able to get more evidence, or what someone might, purport to be evidence now, rather than, say, 30 years ago, because we have better camera technology. Is that a fact, do you think? Or
I definitely feel that you'll be able to capture more evidence today, but it's a double-edged blade. Now you've got people out there that have the capability to fabricate evidence. So, I mean, you've got to be really careful. Anything that I put out there, I totally stand by 100%. You can run it through any filter and see that I have not fabricated anything. And I welcome people to challenge my evidence because I know it's 100% genuine. And I know that anyone out there can do what I am doing. So I definitely think that it is better now than 30 years ago as far as capturing evidence. But at the same time, like I said, you've got to deal with the fact that technology is so advanced to date. In order for a skeptic to accept anything, they're going to have to be there.
Yeah, you can fake almost anything nowadays.
What about something in the future? And I'm asking you this because I really don't know much about the recording technology that you probably do. Could someone develop some kind of technology that can see something that we don't even see, something that is maybe vibrating so fast, or I don't understand, vibrations, optics, air molecules, it all works together. But something that is an entity that may be there, that we will not see, that could be right in front of you, but the camera may see it because of some special technology that is more advanced, maybe 10, 15 years from now. Is that possible? Has anyone ever thought of that? Has anyone worked on that?
They actually are. They have something right now. I do not remember the name of it. I'm sorry. But I am not a believer in that. I strongly feel, because I have seen full-body apparitions with my own eyes that look just like your eye with my eyes. So if you could see them like that, and sure, it's only for a few seconds, I've seen things that I can't go back. You know what I mean? Once you see something like that, you know it's 100% genuine. And I do not have psychological problems. I'm not someone that should be locked up. I mean, and I've worked with people. I mean, I've got a fireman, and I've worked with all sorts of people, reputable people that have seen things that I have seen. You know, and I do feel that they choose who they want to show themselves to for sure, because otherwise there would be more people out there that have had encounters with the paranormal, with ghosts. But there could be technology out there. I mean, people do use the FLIR, which is thermal imaging, which detects heat. And in theory, you're supposedly supposed to see spirits with it. I am not a huge fan of thermal imaging at all, and I'll tell you why. I know someone that works in the fire department, and when you're walking around with it, it's so hard for that to detect, anything unless it's solid, like you or I. They use it, fire marshals use it to figure out where the cause of the fire was and stuff like that. So it's used for surfaces, just like a temp gun. You know how you've got the temp guns and it shoots the laser and it reads on surfaces. It's the same principle, I believe, with the thermal imaging camera. So, I mean, in theory, it's supposed to work, but I'm not a huge fan of it. And then there's that other device, the full spectrum camera, which they use a lot on GHI. And I'm not really a huge fan on that because, like I said, I've seen things with my own eyes. I've worked with people that have seen things with their own eyes, and I'm not no psychic by any means, And I just think it's a matter of communicating with the spirits, letting them get comfortable with you, and eventually they'll feel comfortable showing themselves to you. I mean, my ultimate goal would be to sit and have a conversation with a spirit on film, okay, and have that backed up 100,000%, so there's no denying it, okay? And, I mean, that's what I'm waiting for here.
Wow. Hey, Josh, where are you calling from?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Thank you for calling, sir, and thank you for listening. Good questions. See ya. Now, you think, somebody said, on the chat room they said, some people are really more sensitive to spirits than others. You're saying, you're not a psychic or anything like that. Do you think that maybe you're sensitive to spirits? That's why, because I do agree that, it's one thing to say you're psychic. It's another thing just to be sensitive to what's going on around you. You can discern spirits. I mean, that's everywhere. Do you think that maybe you are more sensitive to that aspect in life or afterlife to be able to see full-body apparitions or to be able to have these conversations that you do?
Well, see, here's the thing. I mean, my opinion, I would say no, but I've had people tell me that they feel that I'm a ghost magnet. And I hate that. I really do, because I don't believe that. I think that's a bunch of BS, to be honest. I feel that maybe the spirits are more comfortable with me because I do treat them like they're equals, and maybe that's why I tend to communicate with the spirit world like this. I don't think it's an ability that I have or that I've worked on. I just think it's, just the ability to communicate with people and treat them as equals. And when you're communicating with the spirit world, you've got to treat them with respect. You go into these locations, and that's their home. That's where they live. But the other question, I'm sorry, I didn't forget, is I definitely do believe in psychics, and I definitely believe in mediums, and I've worked with them in the past. However, I've got to back their feelings up with hard evidence before I use it as evidence. I would never just go based on a sensitive or a psychic feeling and say that the location's haunted without any other evidence to back it up.
Now, how much equipment do you bring? We only got a few minutes left, so I just want to find out how much equipment do you bring on an investigation? Let's say go into the pen. It's a huge, Gothic structure. Would you just load that place full of cameras, or would you do each section at a time with all your cameras, or how do you go about doing that?
All right. Well, here's the thing. I'm not huge on stationary cameras. Okay, because the only way that I would feel comfortable with that is like you said, if you totally put cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're leaving too much room for doubt. You set up one camera down a corridor, you got something going on, you don't have a camera down there to back it up. Okay, so what good is it? That's why I totally believe in handhelds, because you're there, you could chase after whatever's going on, and it's 100% whether or not it's a spirit or someone messing around. That's why when we use the method and we are commando style. I mean, we've all got handheld cameras, and we're filming like we're filming a professional camera crew, And all my team members, we go through training on how to film the investigator. Make sure that you see everything.
Yeah. The
device, the investigator, the surroundings, and then we do have a camera on a tripod filming the surroundings, and we just pick it up when we move. But if we're dealing with like a house, someone's house, and they're dealing with activity, then I believe in stationary cameras because, you're dealing with children and stuff, and if it's a negative style haunt, you want to take care of everything. But if I'm doing something just to try to determine whether or not the location has paranormal activity, I definitely just go through it with handheld.
Wow, that's a good way to look at it, and it like I said, in my mind, I was seeing you just bringing like a truckload of cameras and covering every angle of every aspect of every angle, and just saying, okay, let's document this. Right. I wasn't even thinking about taking handhelds around with you. So,
yeah. Well, I've got a pretty big group of people, and I've probably got at least 7 of each piece of equipment that you could think of as far as paranormal equipment goes.
Yeah.
7 of each, just myself. I'm not talking about my whole team. Just me. I've got 7 of each.
Wow.
7 voice recorders, 7 K2 meters, 7 EMF meters, 7 millimeters, and so on and so forth.
Now, do you have like a big utility belt you clip all these onto? How do you carry these around?
I throw them all in my book bag, and when we get to a spot that whether we are having paranormal activity or not, or we're walking around with the temp guns and we're getting high spikes in EMFs, we set up, we put the equipment down, we film the equipment, we film the environment, and we start trying to make contact.
Good stuff. Are you going to try to come down for our pen trip?
Definitely. You got to send me the information via email. You said it's June 30th?
Yeah, it's a Wednesday night. That makes it tough for a lot of people, but that's the day we were told we had. So.
No, I'll definitely come. I mean, I'll mark it in the calendar. I don't think I have anything going on the 30th of June yet.
I'll tell you what, Lola will stick to you like glue.
Yes, I will.
She's so ready to have an experience, it's not even funny.
Okay, and what time is this?
It's, I think, 11 o'clock to 6 a.m.
Beautiful.
11 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Beautiful. And this
12?
is in
West 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. Say it again?
This is West Virginia, right?
Yes,
right.
West Virginia.
Beautiful. Yeah, I've always wanted to come and check out the penitentiary there, so.
It's been on Ghost Hunter. Well, it's been on all of them as of right now. All
Beautiful.
the TV shows, each one, I guess they all say something different about what goes on there, but, I guess.
It is definitely a creepy place.
Yeah,
Now, would you guys be comfortable using equipment? I mean, I bring a ton of equipment. You can use your own or you can use mine, and that way you could see what kind of evidence you could capture yourself.
Bring everything and anything you want to. Well, we should have about 30 people there. So if you bring enough equipment for everybody, I mean, we could have a big Herb Street Method conference.
Oh, beautiful.
Along
beautiful.
with Dwayne Claude doing his demonology thing.
Definitely.
Could be a big old party.
Yep. Now, how long have you been researching the paranormal here?
4 years, Nick?
Beautiful.
Yeah,
and
around 4 years.
You've come in contact with full body apparitions yourself?
No, I have not.
Okay. What have you seen? Shadow people, stuff like that?
We see shadows, voices. We've got a lot of voices. There was one investigation we did in downtown Wheeling that we were the only people there. The place is not lived in at all. And, I mean, we have clear as day a little kid talking and screaming. And, I mean...
Wheeling, downtown Wheeling, and the whole area around here is really very old. A lot of the buildings are Victorian. And we had, for another show that I'm on during the day, we had 2 angel ladies is what they're billed as, but actually they're psychics. They came down for a show on the broadcast, and it was amazing what they came up with just driving down the streets. You know, the spirits that they saw. And when they were in here, because we're in a really old Victorian building that used to be a bank, among many other things. And she said, there's tons of spirits hanging out here.
Yeah, all you got to do is try to make contact now. You know, I mean, just to try to, we probably got, 2 minutes left here?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
Okay. But just to kind of close out with this, the thing of it is there's so many people that go out there and you know, it's such a touchy subject here. You know, I mean, I'm trying to bring this to light, and you know, and I'm pretty much walking on glass here because I do not want to offend anyone out there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's people that have been in the field for 30 some odd years. You know, and why would they want to listen to a 30-year-old kid? You know what I'm saying? And believe me, I have walked into some resistance saying, "Oh, this has been done for years." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Where? Point me in the direction where people are doing this on a massive level."
That's like when you explained it, or when I originally heard it from Nick, you know, what you were doing, and I got the email. I read your email. I was like, "Oh, you know, that doesn't seem that new." And then I was checking it out, and I was like, "Yeah, I guess you're really the only one that's really doing that."
Right.
You know, you are. You've got it.
You know, and I'm telling you, I'm being straight with you. You know, I'm from the heart. To anyone that's out there listening, I am not trying to offend anyone. I want everyone to use this, and I'm not saying only this. You know, I'm constantly changing the method, you know, trying to advance the field further. You know, and we can all do this together. I think it's time that we all put our egos aside and work together and try to make contact with the spirit world. There's so much that we can learn. There really is. And I think it's so naive to think that there's only certain places that are haunted. I feel the whole planet has paranormal activity. There's been billions of people that have lived and died here. Every inch of this planet. You know, and yes, some locations have more paranormal activity than others, and this is why I travel all over the country going to haunted hotspots. But I have caught EVPs and paranormal activities in parking lots, in parks.
Yeah, because you never know what's been going on, what has went on in the land, you know, that you're on.
Yep.
I agree. We are out of time, Herb.
Yep.
Herb, we got on our website, whispersradio.com, we have like 9 websites linked up to you.
Beautiful.
I guess they're all your websites of different things, your group, your YouTube, your Facebook, your MySpace. Anybody wants to get in touch with you, whispersradio.com. It'll take you. If you can't find them from that, there's something wrong with you.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to working with you guys June 30th.
Nick will be able to send you everything. Nick's saying bye. We got his mic muted. He's been coughing like a crazy man. He's been sick, so he's shaking his hands. Herb, thank you very much, and we will be in touch with you. Nick, like I said, Nick's going to be sending you some stuff on the trip.
Beautiful. Thank you guys so much for having me, and if anyone has any questions, contact me, please.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Herb.
Yep.
All right, since Nick, you ready to be unmuted? Okay, can we hear him? Mm-hmm. You there?
I'm here.
Who we got next week, Nicky?
We have Frank Vicino and Alfred Weber. They'll be coming on talking about some something cool that's going to happen to them. So I can't.
We're not allowed to say what, but it has to do with the Flatwoods Monster.
It's awesome. So
they're great guys.
Why I can't say anything, I have no idea.
Oh, it's a mystery. You'll have to find out next week. Speaking of next week, I believe that's the day we're going to be at the Market House Grill in Elm Grove. Hopefully. Until then, everybody, we love you. Thank you for listening. I'm glad to be back. Don't be afraid. Only believe.